Now, at the moment, everyone's going the iPhone 15 Pro Max, the best iPhone ever, or I really, really hate the iPhone 15 Pro Max. It's a copy of all the last iPhones and Apple don't innovate anymore. Well, there's lots of reviews and things going on about that, but what I want to do today, I want to do something a bit different. I'm going to cast away the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and I actually want to talk about this phone. This is the iPhone 15 Plus, and basically, essentially, it has a lot of the parts what are inside this phone, what is the iPhone 14 Pro Max. And I just want to know, how much different is it? And is the iPhone 15 Plus a better buy than getting yourself maybe an iPhone 14 Pro Max if you can still get your hands on it? Well, today we're going to do a comparison of the iPhone 15 Plus versus the iPhone 14 Pro Max. Now, the first thing I'm going to actually say about the iPhone 15 Plus, I'm going to do the unboxing in a second, but I want to get this point over. This phone reminds me a lot of this phone here. Now, if you don't know what this phone is here, this is the Nothing Phone 2. So this is the second version. Now, the reason why I'm going to say the comparison between both these phones are very similar is basically this phone here has the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 inside it, what was last year's best chipset. This phone here has the A16 chipset inside it, what was last year's best chipset. It also has some great cameras in it from older generation sort of flagship phones. Well, ta-da, this has got the same. It's got the 48 megapixel from last year and it's inside this phone. And also it's got lots of other bits and pieces inside this phone to make it a great experience. So for example, the Android experience that you're seeing right here is one of the best out there. Don't get me wrong, I'm not biased on iPhones. I do love Android phones too, but what I'm trying to say is that on this phone here, it's probably one of the best Android experiences I've ever seen. And that's one of the things about the iPhone too. The iPhone gives you a fantastic experience. This is why a lot of people buy, say, an iPhone, say 13 or 14 model, or even say these 15 models, because they love the iOS experience, and you're going to get that with this phone because it's an optimized operating system. And that's why I say that these phones in a way are very, very similar to each other, even though obviously I think if I did a comparison between both of these phones, I think this phone would come up on top. But let me know in the comments below if you do actually want to do a comparison between both of these phones. Yeah, because I think it'd be quite interesting to see. But the main thing is that I think we want to talk about, guys, let's have a look at the unboxing then of the iPhone 15 Plus. So having a quick look here at the box, this is the pink edition. You know, trust me, it's not my normal colour, but it might be your colour. So there we go. But it does look quite nice, actually. There we go. You've got iPhone in pink there. I do like that Apple logo in pink and everything like that. Got everything on the back here, all the instructions, you know, I'm in the UK here and everything's English language, all of that. Great looking box, as per usual. Very similar to the 13 Pro Max and 12 Pro Max. But let's get this open anyway. So let's just tear it up here. That's good. I like doing this. This is great. I can't actually get them to undo. And there we go. And let's have a look then inside, see what we've got. Oh, wow. That is a very, very powdered pink. So, yeah, there it is. Looks lovely. Oh, that feels really nice in the hands and everything. Let's put that there for the moment. See what else we got here. USB-C to USB-C cable. That's what we want to see. And then we got the usual. Do we actually have a pink sticker? No, it's a white sticker, guys, I'm afraid. All the usual bits and pieces. SIM card ejector, because I'm in the UK. We're not like you guys in the US, you know, for the eSIM and all of that. But let's do the famous thing here. We've actually got the sort of lightning logo here for charge, even though it's USB-C, as you can see. But let's pull this off. And there we go. That looks gorgeous. Oh, it does really feel good in the hand. I'm going to turn this on now. Let's have a look. Have we got power? Oh, there we go. Apple logo. And there we go, guys. That is the unboxing completed. So then, guys, I just need a nanosecond of your time. And talk about a nanosecond of your time, I actually want to talk about 3 Anker Nano products, as Anker is sponsoring today's video. And what I actually have here is a brand new power bank, what's actually USB-C, and also I've got here some new chargers as well, what are actually 30-watt chargers. And let me tell you a bit more details about these. So starting out with the power bank, it is really, really small, as you can see in my hands. It's about the size of a lipstick. The great thing about this charger is actually it has PIQ 3.0 charging technology. So this supports PD 20 watts and also SCP 22.5 watts and also QC, so quick charging 80 watts. So the USB-C port can actually output up to 22.5 watts if your phone is compatible with it. It was absolutely amazing. It fits into your phone really easily and it's easy to take around with you. Also at the same time as well, the actual power bank is made out of recycled PCR materials too. Then the actual charging sort of port that you've got here, you can actually use this as well with a cable to actually charge up a second device at the same time, as well as using the actual primary USB-C port here as well. And all of this comes from the 5000 milliamp battery inside it. Then next of all, we have the Anker Nano 30 watt chargers. And I have here both the UK and also the European version of this. The great thing, like I said, is these chargers actually charge at 30 watts. And this is far faster than what a lot of the old iPhones used to come with that 5 watt stock charger. It has GaN technology inside it, and also it has a temperature sensor chip as well, what acts as an active shield, and basically this actually monitors the temperature of the actual adapter to make sure it doesn't actually get too hot and actually regulate the power what's going out to charge your phone. It also has Power IQ 3.0 technology, so if your devices like tablets, iPhones or sort of Android devices out there are compatible with this, you are safe in the knowledge that basically your phone is going to charge at optimal speeds. So if you want to check out any of these free new Anker Nano products, make sure that you check out my link in the description and I'll have all the details in there. And with that guys, it's also back to the video. So, as you saw, the iPhone 15 Plus unboxing experience, nothing out of the ordinary there. It's probably very similar to the 15 Pro Max I did, a few days ago. And then obviously that's the same as say the 14, 13, 12, I'm not going to go on. But you get the idea. Very, very similar unboxing experience. But the main thing is now, what about if we compare both these phones and how they look? What are the differences there? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get close up and let's take a closer look at both of them. Now, the first thing I would say straight away comparing both of these iPhones, as you can see, obviously the Pro Max here, the 14 Pro Max has an always on display, something what obviously the 15 Plus just doesn't have. And the main reason behind that is because of that Pro Motion display. And just to show you here, you can see here the difference in Pro Motion, where basically I have sort of slowed down time and you can see how much more smoother or more rougher it is. You can see a big difference there. The next thing also to see here is if we just sort of turn around the actual phones and have a look at the difference of the backs. So obviously this is a different kind of feel and material altogether. Now what I am going to say is that obviously the 15 Plus is actually a much more softer back. It's a really nice, that new glass back what it has got compared to what the 14 Pro Max. And the most obvious thing as well is obviously these rounded edges. Now these are really hard to see on the camera here, but trust me, I think you can see it there. If you look up at the top camera ring here, can you see how much more rounder it is compared to say the 14 Pro Max that we've got here? And it feels a lot much more better in your hand compared to what the 14 Pro Max feels like in your hand. It feels just feels right. That's the best thing I can say about it. And even the sort of aluminum here, or aluminium where I am here in UK, it feels softer. This just feels more, I don't know what the word is. It just doesn't feel right compared to this. And also smudges as well. As you can see, I can rub my finger on here, dab it. I'm not going to get any marks whatsoever. Whereas on the 14 Pro Max, oh yeah, I'm going to smear this up big time. And even the back glass as well, I can leave fingerprints. But obviously with this new kind of design on the back here with the 15 Plus, you're just not leaving any kind of marks whatsoever. So that is definitely a big difference, I'm going to say, in the body. Now the actual sort of body in actual thickness, you can actually see here that the actual 15 Plus, if I lift it up slightly higher to you guys, is actually slightly thinner. Ever so slightly, and again, because of that rounded edges, it just feels more better in the hands as well. It definitely is lighter than the 14 Pro Max, I can tell you that now. Obviously, if you did put a case on the 15 Plus, maybe it might feel the same sort of weight, I don't know, but you can definitely feel the differences in the first sort of glances there. Apart from that, really, the screens, if I turn them on here, on both of them. You can't really see any sort of difference. I know one's a 60 hertz and one's not. You know, one's a 120 hertz ProMotion, but really there is just not much in it at all. I am going to say that. Now, one other big change is obviously the very bottom of the phones here. So what we actually have is we have Lightning at the bottom of the iPhone 14 Pro Max, and we have USB-C at the bottom of the iPhone 15 Plus, and that is definitely a big difference here. And straight away, one thing I do love about the 15 Plus, if you can see it there, the sort of bit that holds the middle of the USB-C is actually pink as well. Actually, I've made the pink in the middle. I think that's really, really cool. A nice touch finish there. If you're like me, who likes things like that, the extra details, what they've actually done there. So I think that is really, really awesome. But overall, if I was to judge it in which one feels better in the hand, which one just feels nicer, it's obviously going to be the 15 Plus over the 14 Pro Max in overall sort of looks differences. So there we go, that's that comparison. Now next up we're going to talk about cameras, but before I just do that, let me just show you one thing I didn't show you there about the cameras. I want to leave it to here. Can you see there the actual square module at the top compared to the square module up here? Obviously the 15 Plus one is far smaller than what we've got with, say, with the 14 Pro Max. Now obviously it does have that extra lens, and on here we don't actually have that, but it is quite unusual that it's quite smaller, as you can see here. Now we are going to do some comparisons here. We're going to do some testing. We're going to test out the videos. We're going to test out photography. Now the one advantage what this phone does actually have is obviously that extra lens, what is a 3x zoom, but this phone can also do a 3x zoom with its 48 megapixel camera built inside it. And I want to see really what the difference would be between both of them, because this is a dedicated one and this is more of, say, a digital zoom one, and I'm wondering if it's up to the task of being very similar in its quality to the 14 Pro Max. So first of all, let's check out the zoom capability. We're at 0.5 zoom here on the 14 Pro Max. Then this is a 1x zoom. Then this is a 2x zoom. Then this is a 3x zoom. Then a 5x zoom. Then also a 10x zoom. Then that switch over now to the 15 Plus. So this is a 0.5 and this is a 1. And then this is a 2 and this is a 3. Then a 5x zoom, and finally the 10x zoom. But just comparing here side by side, you can see here at the 1x sort of zoom here that definitely the 15 Plus does really keep up with the 14 Pro Max. After this, I decided then to check out the sort of portrait mode. So here we are with 2 portrait photos on the rear lenses. And as you can see here with the 14 Pro Max, it does a very good job. Then after on the 15 Plus, it does a very good job too. And then just comparing them both here side by side, as you can see, they are very, very similar indeed. Next of all, I decided to do then basically a selfie shot on the front camera. So here we are with the 14 Pro Max, that's quite a good job. And then obviously the 15 Plus. And then here we go again, this is them side by side as well. Then after this, I decided let's test out the actual zoom capability, starting with the iPhone 14 Pro Max. And we're going to keep this the same. We're going to record at 4K 60 frames per second. Now we're on the iPhone 14 Pro Max, and as I have mentioned already, we are recording here at 4K. So we're going 40K 60 frames per second. So let's start zooming in. We can keep going up to 1.5 zoom, and again we have to stop the video, switch over to the wide zoom at 1x zoom, and then we can start to increase up again, and we can actually go up to a 6x zoom, and then the video has to be stopped again. Then we can start it again, and we're now on the telephoto, and we can actually go all the way up to a 9x zoom this time, as you can see right here. So that's how clear an iPhone 14 Pro Max is. So switching now over to the iPhone 15 Plus, we're at 0.5 zoom. Like I said, we do have some background noise and things like this, but we can zoom up now probably to 1.5. Oh no, we can keep going. We can actually keep on going all the way up to 6x digital zoom, as you can see here. And that is quite a good picture there. So just scrolling back down again, we can go all the way back down to a 0.5 zoom. So that's really good that we don't have to actually stop the actual cameras. They flick over automatically, and we don't have to stop any of the videos or anything like that. Next of all, I decided to do some nighttime photography, and first of all we have here the iPhone 14 Pro Max on the 1x zoom, and then I actually increased this all the way up to a 5 times zoom, and you can see the difference here. And then the same with the actual iPhone 15 Plus. This is a 1 time zoom, and then increasing it up to a digital zoom of a 5 times zoom too. And then just to compare that first picture there, both of them, the 1 time zoom, this is the result that you are getting at nighttime. Now switching over to a selfie picture, and as you can see here, this is the difference what you get with a selfie picture this time taken on the 14 Pro Max, and then obviously now switching over to a 15 Plus. And there we go, you can see the comparison here if you had to do some nighttime selfies. The last test I decided to do is a macro shot. Now the 14 Pro Max has a dedicated macro shot of this flower you can see, but the actual 15 Plus doesn't have an actual dedicated macro shot, but it did still a very good job as you can see here. And just to compare them two, you can see the differences there. So very interesting there with the photography results. Obviously, like I said, you know, the 14 Pro Max, would I say it comes out on top? I would say it comes out maybe ever so slightly more on zoom capability, but to be fair, it's not much in it. You know, when I did that 3 times zoom, like the dedicated zoom was on here, compared it to the digital kind of zoom, so 1 extra zoom sort of crop on here with that 48 megapixel, there wasn't much in it. And to be honest, if you showed it to the average Joe, you're really not going to see the difference at all on the 15 Plus. So yeah, that is definitely a big difference there. I just really don't think, you know, there's going to be such a big jump on that one. Obviously, the iPhone 15 Pro Max gives you that 5 times zoom, and that is where probably the real difference really comes into place. But let's move on anyway. Let's talk about the benchmarking next of all. So obviously both of these phones here have 6 gigabytes of RAM, the same LPDDR5 RAM or X RAM, whatever it is now, and also they both have the A16 chipset with the 6-core CPU and the 5-core GPU. And let's see what the differences are here in benchmarking. So to start with this benchmarking, we've got the iPhone 14 Pro Max here, and we've got the iPhone 15 Plus right here. So the first thing we're going to do is the good old-fashioned geek bench. So we've got this open here on both of the machines. And then what we're going to do is we're going to first of all run the CPU benchmark. So we're going to start them both together, and let's see how well they both perform. See if there's any differences here between both of them, because as you know, they have the same amount of RAM and they also have the same chipset inside. So with the benchmark completed here, it's quite actually interesting, as you can see here, that actually the 14 Pro Max is a little bit more out in front. Literally probably not even the blink of an eye difference you would actually notice between both of them. Now the only thing I would say is obviously this is on iOS 17.01 and this is on 0.2, and the main reason is you can't update the 14 Pro Max to 0.2 because there was a little tiny little bug, as it were, with the 15 Plus when it first came out, and that's why it's on that slightly different version here. But you can really see there's nothing in it whatsoever. Yes, we do have a score of around about 300, just over 300 sort of difference on multi-core, but really you're not going to notice any difference. But going back on that one, let's go and have a look then on what the actual GPU test is actually going to give us. I'm just going to tap back here, and let's tap on the GPU test and run that, and we're going to run that too, and we're going to see then what the difference is here. Again, with the results have come in, and as you can see here, the GPU is just a smudge ahead. It's really nothing in it, to be deadly honest. It's about, I don't know, about 250, I would say. Yeah, about 250 points ahead. But when you're at 22,000 points, you know, 250 points is really not going to do anything. If you loaded up a game, hardcore 3D game, you know, the 14 Pro Max might load it in 0.00000.1 of a second faster than what it would do on the iPhone 15 Plus. You're just not going to see it at all. So they basically are identical with their A16 chipsets inside it. Then moving on, let's close this down completely then. What I want to do next of all is machine learning. Now, machine learning has become a big thing, definitely, in a lot of chipsets over the last few years. And obviously, Apple was one of the first ones to push it out there. And I'm definitely going to say this is definitely a test that's needed, because, you know, machine learning helps us, you know, makes those pictures a bit more sharper. It runs tasks in the background, like, you know, helping to cache shaders and all sorts. It helps things like Siri run in the background at a lower amount. There's so many different sort of things I could actually say what, you know, the neural engine or machine learning does. And obviously the A17 is 2 times faster than what we got with the A16. But let's see what the A16 is like in both of these actual iPhones. Let's see what the difference is here. And there we go. We can see the differences straight away. You know, obviously, no surprise what we thought would happen. The 14 Pro Max is slightly more ahead than what we've got with the iPhone 15 Plus. Again, not much in it. With that machine learning in both of these machines, you're really not going to see any kind of sort of more difference in sort of day-to-day life. It's so tiny, the amount. You know, we're talking about 50 points here on average. So yeah, it's not going to be anything you're really going to notice. So let's close that down. And then next of all, let's run the next test. And the next test, what we're going to run is 3D Mark. So I'm going to open this up here and we're going to do the Wildlife Extreme. So let's get this started and let's see what that does for us as well. And with the test now completed, you can see here straight away, there's not much difference again. So kind of keeping the screens alive here. We're getting 11 to 24 frames per second with 14 Pro Max, 11 to 22 frames per second here. And then obviously, you know, scrolling up here, we can actually see the average was about 18.3 and 17.2. And then the overall score here, obviously the 14 Pro Max was a little bit ahead. Not by much though, only a small amount. But moving on, let's get rid of that and let's now do the big boy test. This is the Anker benchmark. And this one here basically does a test of everything. So everything from like RAM to everything like the actual CPU, the GPU, you know, it's just a full-on test. So let's see what the difference is then between both of these phones. So let's start this off. And there we go, the benchmark has completed, and obviously the 14 Pro Max has beaten the iPhone 15 Plus. But just to give you the comparison here with these two different scores that you can actually see, we're talking about 128th to 129th more power. That's what I'm saying. So it's odd figures, 128th, 129th more power. It's just tiny. You're really not going to see much more difference between both of these iPhones, so they are very similar indeed. So the 14 Pro Max did come out on top. Are we surprised by that? Probably not by a lot. But like I said, guys, it's really difficult to say, should I get the 14 Pro Max over the 15? There's a lot of swings and roundabouts. I showed you there with the videos and the photos. Really, there is nothing in it. It's really hard to know. There's not a big enough difference there. Obviously, the 14 Pro Max comes with ProMotion. That is a big favor inside for this phone here. But the 15 Plus comes with USB-C, which is also a big advantage too. What I really love. At last we finally got this on an actual iPhone. Then there's the feel of the look of the phone. I'm actually going to say, even though it's in this powder pink color, I prefer the look and the feel of this phone. Obviously, if I had a green or blue one, probably more my colors, but obviously I've got to reach out to all my audience. So yeah, I would actually say that the feel of this phone is far more comfortable by 100% than what you got with the iPhone 14 Pro Max. But if you're getting a case anyway, what's going to be the actual difference there? And again, same with that ProMotion display. If you're really bothered by having that super smooth screen, then you're going to need it. But really, are you going to miss it that much? Well, that's your choice. To me, I can get on probably with this phone. I probably wouldn't miss it too much in my opinion. It's not like the best thing ever, but it is a cool thing. And the same with that always on display. I don't really use it anyway. I switch it off. I find it as a battery drainer. So really, again, that's nothing really for me. Now, one other big thing to also mention about the iPhone 15 Plus over the iPhone 14 Pro Max is battery life. The iPhone 15 Plus quashes the iPhone 14 Pro Max. Mr. Who's the Boss, one of the best people at battery draining, he did a test, and as you can see here, you can see the iPhone 15 Plus came way out in front of the iPhone 14 Pro Max. And to me, that is a big thing. Having a better battery life, you know, on a normal day average use, you could probably get maybe say an extra hour and a half to 2 hours out of this phone than this phone. That is absolutely amazing. That with the USB-C port as well is a massive positivity to me. To me, that's a bigger positivity than say the telephoto lens, what goes up to 3 times zoom. You can do a 3 times digital zoom on this phone here with that 48 megapixel. I think that is a big difference. And with that, guys, I would love to know what your thoughts are as well. For me, I would say I'd pick the iPhone 15 Plus, but obviously I'm not biased here. The iPhone 14 Pro Max would still serve me really, really well. I'd love to know what your thoughts are too, so put them down in the comments below. And also at the same time as well, guys, if you've enjoyed watching this video, please do press the like button. And also if you are brand new here, make sure you subscribe to this channel and also hit that notification bell to get the latest Apple news, reviews, comparisons like today going forwards. And on that note, guys, I will see you soon. Take care. Bye bye.